Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Freak Show podcast. I am your resident freak, Jeff Borschowa, and today we're going to continue in our 10-part series about the driven traits based on the work of Dr. Doug Brackman. And if you want to find out if you are in fact driven, go to his website, iamdriven.com/assessment. I'll put the link below and take the assessment. It's about 50 questions. It takes about 5 minutes. And when you fill it out, just wait for the report that comes at the end. You'll get a detailed report with these 10 driven traits and, in his words, how things are. Dr. Doug is a genius in this area. He spent his entire adult life researching how neurodiverse people are driven, how we function, and, to be blunt, how we dysfunction. It is an extreme. We're either the top or the bottom of society. We don't hang out in the middle. We don't do average well. So in today's episode, I'm going to talk about multi-thinking or creativity. And basically, with multi-thinking, we see patterns that others miss. We see things that others miss. We create things rather than deal with things as they are. And it's interesting because if you ask us how we do it, we don't know, or at least I don't know. When I am multi-thinking, I just do it. So as the name implies, it is the ability to think about many things at once. A typical person might have 2 to 3 unrelated things in their mind at any given moment. Science says 3 is sort of the limit. Someone with multi-thinking might have as many as 8 or 9 on the go at this moment. So if you interrupt our train of thought, or you are trying to get us to pay attention to you, we're trying to figure out how we pay attention to you without dropping one of the many balls we've got up in the air. So we have more concepts in our head, and we tend to combine them, blend them, blur them, compare them to each other, and contrast against each other. And it becomes this never-ending series of what ifs. So we can play out scenarios. We can see how things are going to happen before they happen. Sometimes it's like we can predict the future. Sometimes people think we're crazy because we're seeing too far into the future. So let's talk about the blessing versus the curse. Without multi-thinking, most of the inventions, most of the problems humanity has solved, these are the blessings, and they would not exist without multi-thinking. Every single creative human endeavor you can imagine, whether that's technology, language, humor, the arts, human society as a whole, is a result of multi-thinking. The ability of the human brain to take existing or imagined concepts and put them together is a blessing to all of humanity. Now, when it's a curse, by the way, if we're multi-thinking and we're not healed internally, we can apply our multi-thinking to scaling harm. So one of the biggest curses is that distraction is the main pitfall for multi-thinking. We can get annoyed with others who want us to focus. We can get annoyed when somebody wants to talk about something that, as far as we're concerned, we've already made the decision and moved on. It can also be very hard for us to focus on a project that we've already thought out, because we're thinking of new ways to do it while we're thinking of new ways to do it while we're trying new ways to do it. So it can get a little bit cyclical. We can get caught in a loop, and it becomes what a lot of people see from the outside is progress is derailed, and we have a constant string of tangential ideas. And sometimes new projects get lost in that never-ending cycle of ideation and never get off the drawing board. So the multi-thinking brain can generate so many ideas, so many creative possibilities, that it can paralyze the decision-making of the thinker themselves and unfortunately, any group that we're part of. So multi-thinking is by far my favorite one. Hyper-focus is probably my most powerful one. Multi-thinking is my favorite. And basically, I'll say it out loud, I'm addicted to brainstorming. I love unique, novel concepts. If somebody comes to me and says, we've got this impossible problem, my brain loves to chew on that and tackle it. And it will spend days pondering something that everybody says is impossible. And I'll be honest, I look for ways to go through, around, over, under, or whatever it is. I look for the ways, instead of thinking, why is this impossible? I look for, if it was possible, what would that look like? So that is my absolute fun, joy, and honestly, it's a bit of an addiction. However, when it comes to following routines and doing repetitive tasks, my head explodes and I struggle. So what I've learned as a visionary entrepreneur is I need to do the multi-thinking. I need to separate it and have it in what I call my lab. This is where all of the noise and the mess and explosions and things can happen inside my head. The lab never touches production. Between us, I used to reinvent my business regularly because I was always building something better, building something better. Often I'd burn down my mental building while I was still standing in it. So now what I'm working towards, and this is where I think the work of people like Gino Wickman comes in, I'm the visionary, I need an integrator. So what I'm learning is lab is where I get to play and I get to be a multi-thinker. There's a door, a gateway where once something passes certain validation criteria, then it goes into the production of the main business. Again, that keeps the business going a lot smoother and it allows me to have some fun. So now what I do is I'll spend a lot of multi-thinking on how can I improve the business versus how do I reinvent it. So that is my version of multi-thinking. Again, a special thank you to Dr. Doug Brackman. Helping me understand how my brain works has been huge. So thank you.